Oh, man, is it off the rails Friday today on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Daniele Franceschi, Derek Brandeo, and Jake the Snake Schultz with you for the next 2 hours. You're brutal, by the way.
Brutal?
Yeah.
Why? What'd
Why?
I do? Yeah.
Because we are 5 seconds from going on air, and you ask Disco, can we get the Masters on the television now?
Blank TV screen on Masters Friday.
Where were we for the last 5 minutes to turn this thing on? Why did you remember in the last 15 seconds?
Listen, I like Blair and Barker as guys, great guys, some of my favorite guys. But the rush between their show and ours is, I miss the days of the open studio.
Derek, Jake, homework. Get it up. Get the Masters going. You know which monitor it is.
You be quiet for 1 second.
Okay,
here,
you got it.
Because, yeah, you have a better lineup than Sammy will ever have in his lifetime. I'll give you that one.
Here comes the butt.
But Sammy McKee would have had the Masters on.
Oh, he would have, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's your job, my friend, when you're filling in.
Okay.
Sammy, no more golf.
That drop's been
Well,
really valuable.
we're not on the air again till Monday, so we're hooped.
Could have a rain delay. Never know.
Is there any way we could just go to bars for 30 seconds and turn it on? Can everybody just wait in television land and radio land? Can we go to bars?
I don't think our bosses would like that.
No,
We
okay,
should
all
plow
right.
ahead.
Okay. So how are you? It's been a good couple of days for me and you.
To be honest, to not be on yesterday, after Florida and then Tampa Bay, we have a lot to say.
We do. In the meantime, we did an event together at Mercedes-Benz Toronto Queensway, where I brought you out to hang out.
And they gave me a Mercedes.
Not yet.
No,
but we're
that didn't
working
happen.
on it.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of fun.
It was awesome.
Right?
Really
we just
grateful
kinda
that
hung
everyone came
out.
out.
We've never really done anything like that before, but they put on an event for us. They invited some of their clients, and we just kind of hung out. We watched a hockey game
The
together.
Matthew Knies show.
And then you and I just did a Q&A in between periods, and it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was really cool and
Yeah.
fun to watch the game on a big
Yeah.
screen. Also, to feel like the playoff energy, to be around
Yeah.
60 people watching a great game like that at the same time.
Yes.
That's fun.
And the other thing I want to just say is we also do birthday parties.
Yep.
We do bar mitzvahs.
I juggle. If anyone needs.
Anyone you want to hire us, we're available, and we'll bring disco when Sammy's not around.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, me and you went shopping a little bit. We've spent more quality time together without Sammy. I almost feel like
been magical.
we're cheating on him.
I didn't realize that he was the wedge in our relationship
Yes.
this whole time. We just needed to get him out of the
And
way.
we're the
We
three
got
best friends
invited
that
by-
anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could
We
have.
got invited by Jeremy, who's with Easy Mondays.
Easy Mondays.
And,
You can see how lovely our unstructured blazers are. Look at this nice stuff. Look at that color of that shirt.
we usually dress kind of the same without even knowing it.
Yeah.
But today we did.
Today was on purpose.
Today was on purpose.
We look sharp.
So,
Thanks again, Jeremy. Thanks, Easy Mondays.
Really, really very nice of him. Okay, so we didn't work yesterday. We didn't really have a chance to follow up yet on the trip to the state of Florida, the Sunshine State, where we saw two completely different Toronto Maple Leaf hockey clubs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to put it possible is, the Leafs have done this for years where it's like the moment you feel like you're going to give up on them right after that Florida game, a lot of fans were, they can't beat that team. They're not built for playoffs. And then they went and played a team in Tampa Bay, who has been the best team in the NHL since February 4th, according to my math. And they hung with them. They looked great on the road and kind of made you believe again, Kip.
Listen, I don't know if for whatever reason, they just laid such a big egg against Florida, but you just don't put up consecutive 100-point seasons without something being there. For them to have laid down like they did against Florida, I still can't put my finger on why, but if it is going to happen this close to the playoffs, you're certainly glad it happened in the last week instead of the first week of the playoffs.
Got out of their system. Did it leave you feeling like if you had to pick one of these two teams to play, even though Tampa Bay is going to finish ahead of them, even though Tampa Bay is higher in the standings and hotter and all that, you would rather play Tampa Bay than Florida?
But the record speaks for itself, right?
Yep.
Disco, they
4-0
undefeated.
Yeah, season sweep this year. Last 3 years, 8-2-1 against Tampa. So for whatever reason, They see Tampa.
Yes.
They're comfortable. Florida, not so much.
No.
Okay, let's pick up a Kipper's Clipper with Craig Berube talking about the overviews of what he saw Wednesday night in Tampa.
Yeah, the first period was good. I thought we had real good pace to our game and we were going good, got an early lead. I think our team battled in the interior of the ice tonight with shot blocks, hard around our net. The second period, I thought they were the better team. They come at us pretty good, but goalie was good, and like I said, we battled around the interior of the ice.
For all the criticism of Craig Berube not, being harder on the guys or leaning into accountability,
At least publicly.
that we're aware of, it does seem to pay dividends when they don't panic when things go bad, right? They lost a few in a row.
Yeah.
No one really panicked. They get beat up by Florida. They're fine. They come back and gave a good effort. So that's encouraging that maybe there is something there. Matthew Knies, you want to talk about him?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I still want to kind of dissect a little bit of what we saw compared to Florida and Tampa Bay, because there still is a lot that could scare me about Tampa Bay, especially with the firepower. And I'm not sure how Kucherov felt about his game Wednesday night.
He's terrifying.
But he's off the charts good. I don't think he had particularly had a great night. I don't know in terms of the shot attempts for me. Like, it seemed like it was overwhelmingly in favor of Tampa Bay.
That is correct. 90-63.
Okay, there you go. So is it just an off night for them? Like, are we that convinced that the Leafs just own them?
Well, here is the thing I will say. So shot attempts, you said 90-63. The expected goals were in the Leafs' favor. So they were 4.65 to 3.47. So they created a higher danger shot. And so what's crazy, too, is puck possession time in the O-zone. Puck in the O-zone time. Tampa had it in the Leafs' end for 29 minutes. The Leafs had it in their end for 20 minutes. So like we said, they don't have the puck. They don't carry the play, but they carried the dangerous chances.
3 goal posts or 3 posts early in the game?
Crossbar post,
right?
something like that, yeah.
First 12 minutes, I think it was. Really, right from the jump.
High danger scoring chances total, 20 to 18. It's all really tight. Puck battle wins were in the Leafs' favor.
The one thing that stood out for me between both the Panthers and Tampa Bay is just overall Tampa's way looser. There's just not.
Well said.
It's just not tight. Offensively, on the forecheck, defensively, they do not play in your face like Florida.
There's room.
There's room.
Yeah, that is the defining characteristic of that Florida game. It's like there's nowhere to go. Just felt like
Nowhere.
there's like it's like they have 7 guys out there. In
Yes.
Tampa Bay, it was trade chance, and the Leafs are
Which again would favor playing Tampa over Florida. Like, come on.
You
It's
said
that simple.
You said going into that overtime, you were like, this actually favors the Leafs.
Yes. I did tell you that.
Once you get a little room out there for Matthews and Willie and Mitch.
And the game breakers, right?
Yeah.
And the Leafs have world-class game breakers.
Yeah.
Willie could have very ordinary night to a subpar night, but give that guy just one sliver, one window of opportunity, and he could bury you.
3-on-3 is smelling salts for Willie. He'll be on the bench like in a daze, nothing's happening. He's wearing 3-on-3. He's like, tink, and he's like, oh, hello. Jumps out there and ready to go.
Okay. Knies. You want to go Knies?
Yeah. Can you believe he didn't get his stick tangled on his jock strap from the size of the cojones you need to pass through your legs in overtime in a 3-3 game?
Yeah.
With the division on the line.
Yeah.
Can I add one thing on Knies here first? Doesn't it, when you watch him skate, doesn't he skate like he's mad at the ice?
That's how Nathan MacLean skates.
It's very similar, right?
Yes.
It's just, I'm gonna chew it up, right? I thought, clearly Wednesday, terrific, off the charts, good, but just something that stood out.
Yeah, well, to be 230 and skate like he does is pretty incredible.
Yeah, to me, outside of the pass in between his legs and the offense, what will stand out to me over the last 2 games in Florida is his acknowledgement of how bad they were in Florida, how honest he was, and he used the word soft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's been around long enough to know that 4-letter word
That's a big one.
is one of the biggest insults to any hockey player or any hockey club. So the response to me off of him puts him now in very much a leadership type of position on this hockey club.
And that's crazy considering he's 22 years old. He doesn't turn 23 till October or something. So he's young. And you love, I know, the stuff with big guys. You know, the guy he's going at it with there, Chernak.
Yeah.
Chernak's 6'4", 230.
Yeah.
And Knies is in there going like, oh, yeah, buddy, you're cool.
That was my favorite part.
Less and less hesitation.
Yeah.
He's not questioning himself now. He's got the confidence and the belief that I am bigger and stronger than most guys out here, and I'm going to use it to my advantage.
As, you know, attested by the goal. Is it the second one he scores where he's parked in the blue paint and he's wearing 90 on his back and holds him off, puts home a rebound? He is wielding that size with authority.
You want to start with a Craig Berube clip on the pass between the legs?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's go to clip 2.
I'm not sure I recommend that play. You know, but guys try things, you know. What did he try the Michigan the other night? I mean, he's got confidence right now. He's playing with a lot of confidence, which is good. And like I said, the reason for his success is his competitiveness, in my opinion. It's really, really high end, in my opinion. Like, he wins battles. He skates through people all night, gets in there on the forecheck, wins battles down low, hangs on the pucks. I mean, he's a highly competitive player.
I do want to tell people, like, the through the legs thing is not a showy thing. He thinks that that's the easiest way to get the pass out of the stick lane of the defenseman. There's a purpose, not just fancy.
Yeah, I'm beyond the what's hot dogging and what's not.
He got a pass across in a big spot.
I'll be the first one to say if it didn't work, or if it's behind a guy, or it's just
you're on the hook for it.
Yeah, you're on the hook for it. That's all. So it's like, pull it off. No problem. Don't pull it off. I got a problem with you.
Absolutely.
With the way you play, the way he played in that game, he probably earned the license to do that.
Yeah.
I think in that spot, if you think it's the play that is necessary to make. But Kyper, to go back to what you said about the response, the fact that it was him. He was the guy on Tuesday night after they lose to Florida to publicly at least admonish the performance, call out the team a little bit, and use the word we referenced, the soft word. Then the next night, it's not even that he just scored the goals, but I pulled up even today the shot, it's almost like a shot chart in basketball, but in hockey, to see where he was getting the most of his opportunities. And it's unbelievable the amount of color you see around that painted area in comparison to anywhere else in the offensive zone. And he's doing it from those greasy spots that they have desperately needed somebody to provide offense in those areas for years. So now that you're getting it from him, it's important. Now, I don't know if it says anything that it's a 22-year-old providing that presence and fulfilling that role compared to one of your quote-unquote core guys. But nevertheless, it is something that they've lacked, and they are getting it finally. And I thought that was really important to see in the response from him.
Yeah, the one thing I feel like when he plays that way is if he can just take the attention away from Marner and Matthews, have guys on the ice worried about him, jawing at him, thinking about him, and let those guys have 3 inches more, it'd be great.
It has been an element that's been missing for 10 years now.
Yeah, like Bunting is not strong enough to do that in a playoff game.
If you look at the core 4 and the money that's been up there for many, many years now, that's the one element that they've all been missing is that brute force. And to your point, Bunting, Malgin.
Hyman was the best at it by far.
Hyman was the best. And he was
Patrick Marleau a little bit.
We didn't even see peak Hyman, right? And I don't know. Is this scratching the surface for Knies? Is this pretty much, at 22, 23, is he hitting his ceiling now where he's going to be this for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
We don't know. Maybe there's even more to squeeze out of him, but we are seeing it really for the first time, outside of your point of Hyman, leaving.
Yeah.
And it opens up a ton of room.
We did a board the other day for some Hockey Central show where it was goals, points, hits, and 3 names, and it was Brady Tkachuk, Tom Wilson, and Matthew Knies.
Mm-hmm.
Same goal total, almost exact same point total. Hits, Knies is behind those guys by like 30 or 40 on the season.
And he's the youngest guy on that list.
By 10 years.
I think it's Brady. I actually looked at it today, too. Brady's 25, he's 22.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
So, he can belong to a pretty elite class of power forward if he keeps getting better, which he should. Do you want to hear from Matthew at all, Mr. Knies?
Do you want to hear on the past or the success he's had against Tampa Bay? Where do you want to go?
I'm over the past.
Okay,
and
let's go.
We've discussed that.
Oh, he loves Tampa.
Yeah, he does.
Let's
Clip
listen to
one
how
on
much
Knies.
he loves Tampa.
Well, Matthew, a thrilling win for your team and a hat trick for yourself, including the overtime winner. In 9 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning, you have 10 goals. I'm wondering if there's something about playing the Lightning that seems to bring out the best in you.
Yeah, obviously I didn't have a good experience at this bar when I was a young kid. So, yeah, I mean, we played a great game today. A lot of credit to Mitchie and Austin today. They played a hell of a game, and it was a good effort all around. So it was a good win, an important win.
When he was a young kid.
You know what's funny? You know what he's referencing there?
Huh.
He's referencing the Frozen Four from 2 years ago.
Oh,
that's what he
geez.
defines as a young kid.
Yeah.
When he lost in the Frozen Four, and I think it was overtime. It was some dramatic ending. They lost. Minnesota was favored.
Did they lose to
Quinnipiac?
Well, maybe it was Quinnipiac. That's right. Yeah. And that's what he's referencing. I couldn't wrap my head initially.
When you're his age, that's 10% of his life ago. It is.
Oh my gosh, that is nuts.
That is a while
That's
back.
nuts.
All right. Well, it's good to see him taking strides. Good game by Mitch Marner, 3-point night.
Yeah.
Had a great slap shot goal by Vasilevsky.
Ever closer to 100 points
Yep.
for the season, and a milestone that he certainly has fallen short either because of injury or being rested for a few games.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks like he's on his way to 100 points. I don't know, has a Leaf winger ever hit 100 points?
It's a great question.
I would have no idea.
That I don't know.
man.
I don't. Off the top of my head, I say no. I think we've got Sittler. We've got Dougie Gilmour.
Andrechuk?
I don't know about it. David Andrechuk and McGillney. Those are the wingers.
That's
that
the
come
one
to
I'm
mind.
checking right now is
Yeah.
McGillney to see.
Andrechuk had 50 goals. We know that, but I don't know if he had.
Yeah, so McGillney's a no. Kipper, he got
Yeah.
in Toronto, closest was 79. He had
Yeah.
100 points with Vancouver one year.
Yeah. Okay, if it's not Andrechuk, I cannot see.
All right, we're gonna try
not
David
Lanny, not.
Let's see here.
My Leafs history is
Yeah.
not where yours
Okay,
would be.
all right,
Yeah.
that's okay.
Oh, he missed it by 1 point, guys.
Who?
Dave Andrechuk,
99?
99 points in 93-94.
It'd be the 4th player in history I just had in my ear. Is that
Matt's.
I don't know.
Who's the third? Gilmore, Sittler.
Sittler, Gilmore. I don't know. Anyway, we should do this off the air.
I think they're the only two. Did Matt's ever hit 100?
Let's take a peek. I would doubt it.
We're not doing trivia now.
Now we're doing
Google
trivia.
it.
I doubt it. I doubt it, though. That's my guess. Let's see.
Sammy would know.
Sammy
Disco.
would know.
No, never had 100. No.
Oh, Matthews.
Oh, Marner.
Matthews. Well, how can we forget Matthews?
Oh, yeah, Austin Matthews.
Oh,
Come on.
yeah.
you
Heard of
guys.
him.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Where do you want to go now? You want to dissect still more? You want to look towards Montreal? The thought of now 5 defensemen playing because Oliver Ekman-Larsson, it was reported that he's not in the lineup tomorrow night.
Really a tremendous breakaway in overtime from Ekman-Larsson in which he didn't score, fell, and injured himself.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that's true.
It
Yeah.
was the hat trick.
Yeah.
Remember he smashed into
Yeah.
the boards in OT? That was a real moment where there was a stretch past the length of the ice in OT and a guy sprung and it's like, here goes Nylander. And it's like, wait,
It's OEL.
95.
Isn't
Anyway.
it a little bit concerning, though? Like, these guys have, what is it now? 3 games left tomorrow, 3 games left in total. And now you have to go 5D at this point.
If I'm not mistaken, Edmonton had this similar situation. For those of you that don't know, it's salary cap related. They cannot call anybody up. You cannot claim long term,
Yeah.
right?
So they have 195 grand in cap space, so you can't fit a player. Can't put anyone on LTIR because there's not enough games left. and you can't be emergency recall until someone misses a game with injury. So you got to miss a game.
While they're negotiating for a new CBA, please fix this.
How dumb is this? Like the team doesn't want this. The league doesn't want this. Nobody wants this.
The guys are coming in at the end of the regular season like on fumes.
Yeah, and everyone jams it to the salary cap after the deadline anyway. Who's
What we're doing now, we're doing two things. We're risking more injuries because it's a lot more taxing on 5 guys, and we're ripping off the fans who don't get a full roster.
Yeah, you're going to get Benoit and Myers playing 22 minutes each to try to fill a void. You know, it's going to be tight.
So
Benoit was pretty good last game, by the way. I'm liking him lately. So that's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Stolars, Wool, any thoughts? Anything changed for you in Florida?
Nothing really.
No.
So once again, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're looking at the last back-to-back of the regular season.
That's right.
And if I could just vent one more time.
Please do.
Okay. Saturday night, Leafs at home. Sunday in Carolina, 5 p.m. Like, what are we doing here? Who is doing the scheduling here?
Yeah. So they'll leave after the Habs game, get into Carolina. They'll get to their hotel at 2 or 3 in the morning, probably. Yeah.
Right? Got to go through customs.
Probably later.
The Masters.
You got to watch the Masters.
Can you explain to me who would schedule an NHL game up against going down the stretch of hole 15 to 18?
Now, this almost sounds personal, like
Sunday
it affects
Masters.
you personally in some way, that there's a game.
Yeah, not like you two guys are doing the game.
Gary Batman.
Yes. Yes. And I will guarantee you that we will have a screen on, unlike right now.
I'm going to do an intermission pack of like Rory on the back nine.
Have we ever had a situation where we've seen this many back-to-backs in a season?
I don't know.
Because doesn't it feel like an inordinate amount?
The Leafs led the league.
Yeah, they were almost double digits, like 9 of them or something.
No,
I think it's more
16.
than 16. Yeah.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah. Their record, because Bourne, their record in back-to-backs is pretty good.
They're 9, 4, and 2.
Yeah.
So,
Which
math
is
that out, Bourne.
incredible.
Idiot.
You know who's, I don't know what the number is, maybe 11 or 12. There's a team that is 0 for
Oh, really?
in back-to-backs.
Oh.
I think it's Seattle.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
interesting.
They're like 0 and 11 and 1 or something crazy like that on the second half of a back-to-back.
Do you want to hear maybe the most stunning back-to-back stat of the year for me? The guy who leads the NHL in points on the second half of a back-to-back is John Tavares. Old fleet of foot Johnny takes care of himself. He shoots it in the net on a back-to-back. I think he's got 17 points.
17.
Yeah, might be 18. It's quite the accomplishment. I don't know. It's a random tidbit.
Listen, he's had a hell of a season, right? This is with, again, I think he's the Leafs nomination for the Masterton Award.
Yeah, Bill Masterton. Yeah.
Masterton, sorry.
Yep.
My apologies to
Oh, good.
Masterton family.
My dad won that in 1988, I think.
So,
Nice.
Stripped of the captaincy, right? All of it.
Mm-hmm.
Last season, off of his contract, wants to remain. He's on hold. They're not really committing to him just yet. And yet he's found his way to have one of the best seasons so far, regular season.
I think you can make the case that the lack of pressure has helped. It turned him into a good guy. Instead of being the guy who took all this money and makes their cap whatever, it's like, oh, they stripped him of the captaincy and he chose to come here, and it like flipped the narrative pressure on the guy.
He became a face, not a heel. He had a little heel turn action, face turn.
See it coming.
That's funny.
We have Anthony Stolars talking about his take on going to Florida and having a tough night and then coming back here and bouncing back. Why don't we hear what Anthony Stolars had to say?
I think it's huge for us. I think especially after last night, really weren't our best, but I think tonight you can see the intensity, you can see the dedication in the defensive zone as well as in the offensive zone. The guys were blocking a ton of pucks. I think we had 25, 35 blocks in between there. So kudos to those guys in front of me. They made my job a lot easier. And I think Mo had 8 or 9, Tanny, Bo, OEL. So it's just a collective effort, and that's something that we're going to have to continue to build on going forward here.
It is a heck of a game plan. So if your plan is to, be in your own zone but not give up high danger chances, that means you're committing to blocking a lot of shots. How that plays out over 2 months of playoffs is remains to be seen. You know,
Yeah.
are we going to be sitting here and they'll have no injuries from shot blocks by the second round, third round?
Are you going to block 30 shots every night?
Right.
Well, again, you're down to 5D, and that's just more taxing, more block
I'm
shots.
telling you, get the
Right.
heck out of the way tonight
So,
or tomorrow.
um,
Let the goalie
yeah.
see it.
you know, we'll probably see it tomorrow night.
Hmm.
Mitch Marner play defense.
Actually, that crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You watch. They'll
Yep.
they'll throw him back there a little
Well,
bit.
I think it's an option, right? He's
Yeah.
can skate backwards and play a 2-on-1, and you need someone.
And I'm sure they'll be juggling the cap, maybe be in a position where Sunday they could find a way to get somebody back
They
in.
can. So once a player misses a game, they can use an emergency recall that isn't on the cap, but the player has to make less than $875. So Marshall Rafai would check that box for you. Dakota Murmis as well.
This is why I have you around.
Well, you know, happy to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
There.
We'll see who tomorrow night in that, in your opinion.
Let's look at this remaining schedule. So probably Stolarz, right?
That's what I would
Saturday
guess.
night, back to back. You get the Canadiens. Yeah, I think
Stolar Saturday night, Joseph Wall in Carolina on the short.
I think you have the
Trip.
yeah. I think that's the way to go. I wonder if Tampa Bay's game tonight affects anything. Like if they lose tonight and the division looks a little bit safer.
So
There's no you know what, it's
Leafs-
probably Stolarz then Wall.
the key one is Florida versus Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, Tuesday, correct? Is that what it says?
Oh, they play, huh?
Yeah, they play.
They do play the 15th of April.
If Florida finds a way to steal points off of Tampa
That'd be nice.
that night,
Yeah.
then the Leafs really need to go, 2 for 4, right?
If the Leafs go 2 for 4, that means in the final 4 games, Tampa Bay would need 7 points to tie them,
Run
and the
the
Leafs
table.
have the tiebreaker. So they would basically need all 8 remaining
Yes.
points if the Leafs can win 2.
Yeah. So it's looking pretty good. Just win tomorrow night. But Montreal comes in off their back-to-back
Yep.
as they play Ottawa tonight.
And it'll be interesting to see what version they get of this Montreal team because they're playing the Sens tonight. They win, they clinch a postseason berth.
Yeah.
If they do win, then I venture to guess tomorrow, not personnel-wise, but you're going to get a different feel from the Habs than you would if they lose tonight and are still in that same position tomorrow trying to secure their playoff fate.
Let me change that feel for you. If they win in Ottawa tonight and face the Leafs, can they catch Ottawa?
Sure.
And
Yes,
does that
that's
make
true.
them feel a little different on whether or not they want to go the Atlantic route or the Metro route? Because once you switch over to the Metro, now you're thinking to get to a conference final, you got to go through Washington or Carolina, right?
New
And
Jersey. Yep.
New Jersey. Is that
Yeah.
a little bit better than maybe
I just feel like you want to win a
Tampa,
round
Florida?
if you're Montreal, and I got to believe Toronto's the team you want there, right? Like the ghosts of Toronto.
Do you think so, eh, Bourne?
I do think so. Yeah, I mean, Washington, Washington's got 115 points by the time this
I
year's
know.
over or whatever. But
So what you're telling me is then they win in Ottawa tonight. They're pushing hard Saturday night.
I think they would want Toronto. I do. I feel like that's they could strike the fear of God into the hearts of everyone here by winning a game or two early in that series. And
So Toronto, Montreal is not out of the question.
it's not.
No,
out of
it's
the
not.
question.
Oh.
Cool.
Oh.
Either way, it's going to be fun. All right, let's gourd it up, shall we?
Yeah, that's a big game tonight. It really is.
All right, we take a quick break. And when we return, we go Stellictricity. Gord Stellick will join us. I don't know where he is. He's somewhere, though. We'll find him.
Where
and then
in the
also,
world?
let's not forget, Off the Rails Friday, top of the hour, Doug MacLean will join us on his usual spot on Friday. And then Steve Staios will join us
GM
around
of the Sens.
5:30 Eastern.
Correct.
And we'll talk about the Ottawa Senators clinching and going to the playoffs.
Awesome.
All right. More of Real Kyper and Bourne when we return.
Welcome back to Real Kyper and Bourne. Right now, we are just Bourne. We are not with Real Kyper, who is feverishly working to get the Masters up on one of our TVs here. We're awaiting Gord Stellick. Couldn't do it, Kip? Oh, look at this. It's like someone took his ball Hey, it's okay, pal. We'll watch replays after. You'll get to see some still. It's okay. You can imagine how he's going to feel on Sunday when they took away his Master Sunday.
We work at Rogers, where there's a million TVs.
I know.
How do we not have cable right now?
What's funny, the funniest thing is when you come in here most days, it's after Barker's been in here and there's some duck hunting show on. Legitimately, some camo wearing dudes in the backwoods. That's the only thing that TV's ever used for. Oh, well, we did our best.
All right, what do we got?
Well, we're awaiting Gord Stellick. Oh, he's ready. Jeez, this guy's
All right,
punctual.
let's welcome him in.
Oh.
Former general manager, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Sportsnet 590, the fan analyst, co-host of something on Sirius. Gord.
Yeah.
If I wanted cable to work, would I go HDMI 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Oh, so my dad's passed away. Ernie's TV repair could have got this for you. The TV repairman in Toronto, Leaside, and Rosedale. But yeah, people make this assumption, and they'll say, "You work at Rogers. Can you do this, that, whatever?" And then we get the same deals that go on. You know, from time to time, have those kind of issues. So I feel your pain, Kyper. But I'm here at the Mattamy Center, the old Maple Leaf Garden.
Yeah.
So I'm not watching Yeah, I'm watching curling.
Wow.
So, curling event, Kyper and Bourne, got the Masters when I get home because Kippy, I'll text you what's going on with the Masters. I got it all covered.
I really appreciate that. So you're playing right into the Where's Gord Stellick segment we've enjoyed over the many years.
Where in the world is
Gord Stellick. And you are a huge fan of curling, the cricket club, the beer in your hand while you throw the rock, right? You're in your wheelhouse.
They used to it was sponsored by a cigarette company, and they would smoke while they swept, and the ashes would go on the ice way back when.
That's why they were sweeping back then, actually.
Yeah. Well, a lot of hockey players used to smoke too in that. But anyway, it changed. They're very conditioned. Brad Jacobs is out there right now. And I know something's going on. It's got loud all of a sudden. They must know that your show is on.
We're good with you, and we really appreciate the effort. No question about that. So let's start with the two games in Florida, Gord, and what we saw against Florida Panthers, and then what we saw in Tampa Bay, and the level of concern coming out of Sunrise against the Panthers, and then where you felt after the Lightning game.
Pretty simple and cut and dried, right? I mean, play like you did in Florida. You're not going anywhere. Have a response game like you did in Tampa Bay, and a great chance you're going to win. I mean, it almost as if they don't know that. I'm not, us as fans and media people, we know that, but the players, but if they got just a graphic illustration, the whole thing, Florida was tanking it, was never the case, okay? And they still got no Kachuk in that and no Ekblad, so they're going to get stronger. So I think that's simple. And so first of all, I know we'll talk about first place, which means you don't play them until the second round, or maybe not at all. You get to duck them anyway in the first round, have a, quote, easier first-round opponent, but it's that simple. That's how they played against Florida 2 years ago. They beat Tampa Bay because they played that way against Tampa Bay. They won. And then the first 3 of those 5 games against Florida, they played like they did the other night. And that wasn't good enough. And that's why they went home after 5. And they'll go home after 4 or 5 again if they play that way.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you something that's going to get me accused of having a loser's mentality. But should the Leafs have any pride in winning this division? Is that in itself an accolade that, they should be proud of?
So I don't know what the word pride is, but you got to do something different, okay? Yeah. Every other team has gone deep in the playoffs, and you can see they understand the 82-game season and playing up to possibly 28 playoff games. So for the Leafs, they came first in the Canadian division, which is, wasn't really replicate what's going on now. So, Justin, I think to your point, there's something to play for. I think it means something, okay? Now, if they don't get it, you can't say it's the end of the world, but, okay, be able to have a supposedly weaker opponent, have home ice advantage throughout the playoffs. Like you're looking for point of differences. It's not the only one, but you're looking for point of differences to best prepare you for the playoffs. I even think a little thing, like look at Ovechkin's record now. The Washington Capitals have 5 games to get back to your regularly scheduled program. And last year, the last couple of games, feeding Austin Matthews trying to get 70, which you can't fault them for. I'm just saying isn't the ideal way to start a playoff. So they seem to be in that kind of perfect zone right now.
You're watching and listening to former general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Gord Stellick. So, Gord, Matthew Knies, obviously a big storyline coming out of Tampa Bay. Where is he, in your opinion? What did Tampa Bay do for the way we look at him or opponents look at him or the way he looks at himself now?
Boy, Kippy, when he came right from NCAA to the playoffs, I was really cautioning everybody about, let's not expect too much. We see a whack of guys now doing that, like Snuggerud and Leonard in Washington and that. And, Toronto doesn't have anyone comparable. But like Chris Kreider did years ago, like Cale Makar did, you made the jump. And, man, this guy has just made the seamless jump on a team whose fault has been not developing enough players, trading so many draft picks, trying to win now. And this was a great one in the second round. And I like how he's got better. I like it seems like he's dedicated himself to improving in all aspects of the game, not afraid to be physical. Feisty, can fit in with the big guns. Not everybody. Hey, Nick Ritchie, not everybody can fit in with the big guns. So he has, I think, a bit ahead of schedule in some ways. He came out as a mature player when you play in NCAA a few years, but that's been a real boon to their existence. And, of course, much like Montreal has with Lane Hudson for another year and Demidov for a couple of years, you got to have those good players on entry-level contracts. I know he won't next year, but what a bonus to have had Joe Wall and him on entry-level contracts. The great teams have that going all the time.
Gord, so as they move towards the playoffs here, it's becoming clearer that they're likely to play Ottawa or Montreal, assuming things go well down the stretch here. Should the Leafs have a preference one way or the other, or should just be looking at their own game and not worry so much about who they draw?
Well, no, I don't think should have a preference. I don't think. I don't know. Do you think you lost to Montreal and maybe that brings up bad memories and bananas where in Ottawa you're going to have mostly a Toronto crowd anyway, so I don't know. So maybe you could say that. But I would say no because, Justin, both Montreal and Ottawa are what Toronto Maple Leafs now go in with the longest consecutive streak making the playoffs, 9 consecutive years since Boston was tied and they're out. So the first year when they got a standing O for losing against the Washington Capitals, that's what should happen to Ottawa and Montreal this year. If you're playing them, that should be the recipe, much like it was all those years ago, whichever team it is. So I don't think there's any preference. I think those teams should just be happy getting in. That's a big achievement for both of them. You're the better team if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. You've got way more playoff experience. You got to show it.
Gord, you assume that maybe potentially 2 out of 4 games should be enough to clinch for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, they'll take more if they can get it, and I'm sure they'll push for it. But what needs to be cleaned up, in your opinion, or what do you want out of the next 4 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs before they drop the puck for real?
Well, and the other part, Kippy, that more and more you're getting players being rested, which is I'm always, in some ways, if a player's being rested and he's sitting in the press box, is he really being rested? Like, if a guy really needed a rest, give him 3 days off. Now, maybe it's too late in the year to do that, but I just mean you're kind of getting a little bit out of the structure late on. So I worry about that. I understand it's part of the game. But, Kippy, just good habits. Like, these teams coming in, like you look at Boston last night losing to Chicago. Look at the New York Islanders. Second last home game, and they do that. But that's what these teams, a lot of them now, they're still mathematically have a playoff chance. But the teams that are out of the playoffs, man, they're trying not to get hurt. They're playing out the string. If they get a few lucky bounces, then all of a sudden they're playing kind of unorthodox hockey that can work in their favor. But, they really got, and Leafs have a few of those opponents, coming up at the end of the season that won't be in the playoffs. So, yeah, just the kind of, I looked last night, Florida, that's what you want. A nice, tidy win against Detroit like Florida did. And that'll be, the Leafs have one more game against them. And you look, equal minutes, man. 60 and 4 lines played pretty well equal minutes for the Florida Panthers. So that's the one thing I'd like to see consistent. That's another way of getting a little bit of rest that nobody's playing, no forwards playing 24 minutes and no defensemen's playing 28 minutes.
Gord, against Tampa Bay, the Leafs went back to a third line with some scoring touch, right? It's the McMahon, Domi, Robertson line, which had some success for a run. And I remember saying on the show, that line won't play together in playoffs. And now I don't believe that I'm right about that. I feel like maybe it's opponent dependent. Do you think that we'll see a group like that put together rather than a more defensively oriented group?
Well, last year, one of the best scoring teams, they only scored more than 2 goals in one of the 7 games, okay?
Yeah.
And so you got to get, the big guns are the ones that still have to come up, but they have not got the depth scoring. And scoring goals are really hard. And then Bobby McMahon and Nick Robertson seem to have that ability. So, Justin, I would like to see that line get an opportunity in the playoffs. The one thing, now we keep going back to 2019 for Craig Berube, which is fair, but it was 6 years ago. Okay, it was 6 years ago, but still, they won the Cup. And I thought one thing he did really well that year, there was something like 15 forwards the Blues had. And he played them all. You could play 12 in a game, and the 15 all got chances throughout. And he seemed to have the ability, just the right kind, put Sammy Blais in for a certain game, whatever. Like there seemed to be that kind of feel and tempo over a longer playoff. The Leafs have never had a longer playoff, so you really never get a chance to figure out those secret herbs and spices and what works best in a certain way, shape, or form. So I would like to see a line that can give you some depth scoring be a priority.
Much like Justin, I was pretty sure a couple of weeks ago that Max Pacioretty would find himself into a Game 1 scenario, and he's healthy. The cap is kept him out of the lineup still, but where do you, now that you've seen Nick Robertson not play 2 critical games in Tampa Bay and Florida and hold his own, where is there room for Max Pacioretty in your opinion?
Well, see, I want to load up all the scores, okay? Don't keep in mind back in '89 when we had that fun Leaf team that won game 7-5 and lost game 7-5. Okay, it was a fun year. You can only do it 1 year, then reality comes up. So what's killed them the last couple of years is not getting enough goals. Max Pacioretty's been a winner, okay? Not a lot of Leafs have gone deep in the playoffs or won a cup. What I liked, Kippy and Justin, was really his physicality early on. Like he understood when he was healthy, he had to play a bit of a different role with the Leafs. So I think a lot of people were surprised how he stuck his nose into things and that. So I go, let everybody play. Everybody, bring it on, whatever. Just, I just think that's another of that spices I'm talking about. And if healthy, I think he has some possible substantial value. But I would definitely include him. Like the one thing you're not going to do, there's not the Wayne Simmons situation anymore. It doesn't seem you need that anymore. Like, it was something that it was a dance that never quite worked in the playoffs. And you got a tough enough team now. You got Max Domi. You got a few other things that you don't need that particular spice anymore.
Yeah. So we talked a bit about potential opponents. After watching Florida this week, do you still think Florida's Florida? Like I thought, there's a point there where I didn't want to say it out loud to people, but I kind of thought Florida fell off. I was like, they just don't look like the same team to me. But that was a hint of it. And as they get healthy, they could still be Florida, possibly.
Well, what hit me was, and it was like those great Detroit teams for all those years. No space. There's no space when they're playing their game. There is no space out there, and that struck me last night. And that struck me. And they don't have Matthew Knies playing, right? So that's the thing. It's a challenge. I maintain the Leafs probably were a stronger team a few years ago when they had probably going way back when they had the lower contracts and could have got more veteran players and had Zach Hyman and a few other things. They just never had great goaltending in the playoffs. They had one good goaltender in Freddie, but it never happened. Yep. And they didn't have D. But so I don't view them as good a team as they were talent-wise, but they're a more experienced team. They got the star power players still that have to be the star players in the playoffs. So Florida's going to be a challenge. They're wearing the belt right now, okay? And whether you play them. What about the West? Holy mackerel!
I know.
Like Dallas last year. Dallas, bring it on. I got Vegas. I got Colorado. Then I had Edmonton. Right? Like the East is a walk in the park compared to the West. But whatever it may be, whoever you're playing. And they're one of the whatever number of teams. Are there 9 teams you think that can win the Cup? They're one of them. And that's why we keep going back to the St. Louis model in 2019, because that was the year that a team kind of like the Leafs went all the way. What the hell? All these disappointments. Never mind 2 rounds. Never mind 3 rounds. Why not go all the way? Get it all done.
Awesome stuff, Gord. We're going to let you go back to your seats, and I want you to go back to your seats. You are not to hang out the steam whistle beer tent, which I don't think is a coincidence, is right behind you.
Well, I borrowed the steam whistle bucket from the guy to prop up. So, that's why I'm here. And Chippy, your TV issues. What about your phone? Do you want your roaming charges? Do you want a better plan? Can I look into it or something like that?
That's a good point. Really just pull this up right now.
Who doesn't want a better plan?
Lots of great plans available today at Rogers.com.
See? Company man right there. Gordo, thanks for doing this, pal.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Gordo.
That is Gord Stellick, former general manager and a very good friend of the show.
So you don't think Pacioretty is...
No. First of all, how long has he been off?
1 million years.
Yes, 1 million years.
Yeah.
Game one, very difficult.
Yeah.
And Nick Robertson is...
Say it. Say you want Robertson over Pacioretty.
It's framed that way. There's no kind of going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's something to be said that, like, yes, sometimes you have issues with Nick managing the puck, and Craig Berube's talked about that publicly. But the man seems to be kind of a threat every time he's out there.
Yeah.
And I think he puts teams on their heels a little bit with his speed and his tenacity. And yes, sometimes he can get bounced around like a pinball, but the guy can shoot it. He can hit the net. There's guys that couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat.
Yeah.
He's not one of them.
Mm-hmm. So you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when I think about your career and the way you played, my understanding about what was important to you is you were aware of the game situation, what your team needed at that time, what was needed from you at that time. You were of the moment. Is that fair?
Yes.
Nick Robertson, to me, that's the one thing he can't do.
No, he cannot do it.
He is a goal scorer.
But he is, yes, he's higher skilled, and in his mind, he's framed for finding a way to shoot the puck in the net. That is his top priority. Get open, get your speed going, shoot it in the net.
And it was 3-3 with 3 minutes left, and his line went over the boards last night. You have to play your third line. That's fine. But you have to adjust the way you play as a player. Like, that's something I think I did well too. Okay, I'm not going to pinch, 50-50 puck. I'm not going for it.
And maybe that's one of the biggest reasons why he hasn't solidified a spot all these years, is because he still sees himself a certain way of making the NHL. And I've seen it for well over 20 years where guys get locked in on what they are or what they're supposed to be. And it's not me, it's you guys, it's the coach, it's the general manager that doesn't understand. Or
you don't see what I am.
You are not putting me in a position to succeed instead of working with what you have. And, I'm proud the fact that I was a guy that scored big goals in junior, one of the most successful goal scorer in major junior hockey history, man. I'm like, I got this locked in thing that I'm going to be a goal scorer in the NHL. And it's like, no, it didn't happen. So what do? Do I just
keep trying to score goals?
Keep trying to score goals, go bounce around from team to team, try to convince them I'm a goal scorer? No. I'll give you what you need.
Hey, say what you will. I know people don't love how Scott Laughton has looked as a Leaf. He was drafted as a point-getting goal scorer, too. Adapted his game to play in the league. Was it Chris Draper or one of those guys was a big junior scorer, too, and became an effect. And I'm not saying Robertson can become that, but a little bit more awareness. Hey, it's time to get the puck in deep and defend.
Laughton's a role player, okay?
Yep.
And that's figure it out, right? If you're not putting the pucks in the net, you're not producing, you find other ways. You check, penalty kill, you hit, you rub a glove in someone's face. You just do something that brings value.
Berube likes that line. Robertson, McMahon, Domi. He likes it. So
all right, another guy that can bring value to our show. Don't tell him I said that. Doug MacLean. When we go national, it is Off the Rails Friday. You're not going to want to miss this segment. All right, let's kick it up on this Friday, Off the Rails Friday. At Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Daniele Franceschi. We are Real Kyper and Bourne. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne Brought to you by Bet365. All right. A few minutes, we'll welcome in Doug MacLean, former NHL president, GM, author. Do we have to say that still?
Yeah, he would like that, I think. We owe him that.
All right. So,
An award-winning author and scholar, Doug MacLean.
Vancouver Canucks mathematically eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Even though they were emotionally eliminated long ago.
Calgary Flames hanging on. Critical game.
Huge game time.
Against the Minnesota Wild, where they need 2 points in regulation.
Yeah, so they beat Minnesota in regulation. They would be 3 behind Minnesota with a game in hand. Basically, the Flames have 4 games left. They need 8 points. 7 points. No, they need 8 points.
It ain't looking good.
It ain't looking good. The Wild have Calgary, Vancouver, Anaheim. Although I will say, St. Louis only has 2 games left. They can only get to 97. Just got to win. Flames, you got to win. Simple as that.
The Vancouver Canucks, Brock Besser's pretty much has gone public with his thoughts of, I'm not coming back. Like, where would you put that in terms of top storylines right now for them moving forward?
Well, one of the things that made the Canucks is that they had quite a bit of talent there. You know, like it's Pettersson, but it's also JT Miller and it's also Brock Besser and Quinn Hughes and all these kind of elite guys. And all of a sudden, if it's not JT and Besser and it's just Elias and Quinn Hughes, and yes, I understand there's other good players, but I think their ceiling gets lower the more these guys leave.
But clearly they're not paying Besser $8 million or $7.5 million. They're going to pay somebody else that. They're going to replace.
Be aggressive.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
The only thing is just, UFAs, there's not a bunch of guys out there. Like, unless Marner or Sam Bennett go there.
Trade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're going to have to get frisky at that point.
You're going to have to get creative here. But to me, it really just starts with, where's Rick Tocchet in next October? That, to me, you can talk about personnel all you want, but with Tocchet, is he ready to commit to the Vancouver Canucks long term? Are they ready to commit to him long term?
My question is, how does a one-sided option for a coach's contract, why does it even exist? Like, his contract has a team option. They can pick. Why would you have that? Like, if you're not in mutual agreement about coaching the season, then who wants that?
No, I think it's clear that if he's not signing anything between now and
they're not going to make
training camp, it's not like you come back anyways.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, can you imagine if that happened?
Just comes in and mails it in. I'm here. Just here so I don't get fined. What do you guys want to do for system? Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Have at it.
So
that would obviously
a couple of scenarios that he wasn't willing to sign a new contract up until now. So, like, what is going on here? He doesn't want to come back, or he wants to come back, but they ain't showing him the money.
Do you think that's possible? Like, I think the Canucks.
I think it's very possible.
Not just possible, perhaps likely.
I would go almost likely.
So
if you want me to stay, and I've now really, truly understand this marketplace and the challenges around it, because it is much different than perhaps anywhere else.
This ain't coaching Columbus.
It is head coach, babysitter.
Yeah.
It's like, add like 3 or 4 different boxes you got to check off when you have a guy there.
And if you're talking, you're like, I won the Jack Adams. Last year, you guys put me through an absolute circus. There's an owner and a president and a GM, and it feels like all these layers of people pulling in different directions. It doesn't seem like a fun place right now to coach. So I'd be like, yeah, I'll do it for 5.
And everything I'm told, he should be able to double his salary. So whatever he's making right now, it's going to take a significant amount of money now to get Rick Tocchet on a new contract.
But Babcock got that deal for $6.5 million however many years ago, 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
What's the highest paid coach probably makes 5 in the league now?
No, I
Is there
would
guys
say
making more?
I would think that Cooper is up around 6.
Yeah. So, for Tocchet, I think it's fair to be like, I haven't won a Stanley Cup. I understand
Yeah, but
that.
neither did Todd McClellan, right?
He got 5.
And he got 5.
Well, that's what it is then. You're on Todd
That's the
McClellan's
ballpark.
level. Yeah.
That's the
If it's
ballpark.
not 5, it's 4.75. Like that's where it is.
I can't claim to have complete inside information on this, but the reputation for Vancouver is they don't really pay coaches big money.
Yeah. Well, then you don't really get to keep good coaches. That's just kind of how paying people for work works.
Yeah.
You can go ahead and bring up a guy from the American League and pay him 1.5. He'll be happy to be there. But
I wonder how much the situation this year, the turmoil, I wonder how that factors in. I know money's important. I get all that. The contract is important. But I do wonder even team building, roster, how you feeling about the state of where things are with this group.
Who's coming back?
But this roster,
Houston.
and if Demko can show health moving forward, it's set up to be not that far off. And if you want to go and shift gears, Rick Tocchet, to Philadelphia, you're going to have to wait a lot longer to get where I think
it's a fair point.
Vancouver, and how quickly you can get to being first-time head coach of a Stanley Cup championship team would be a lot closer in Vancouver than it would Philadelphia. But don't ask me. Let's ask our next guest, who's probably exhausted from pickleball or something. I don't know. Where you been?
What? Sammy took his hat off and shaved, cleaned himself up. What?
No, this is Disco Dan.
Oh, I thought it was Sammy with a cleaned up look. I like it. I
No.
thought he looked really. Tell Sammy it's the best he's looked all year.
He's got a coat on and everything. I know.
I want to get you.
Hey, just a minute.
What?
I'm in a hurry a bit tonight because I pickleballed for an hour and 15 this morning. Actually, a lesson with a pro, and then we pickleballed.
A lesson.
Then I had my 45-minute swim, but I got to play bocce ball on the beach right after 5:30. So
Is it
little
not
bit of-
sleeting sideways there too?
So we're going to have a little wine and a little appetizers and a little bocce ball on the beach. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to bolt quick. I can't stay around and BS after the show.
So, you have a coach telling you what to do in pickleball. I cannot believe there's anybody that could ever tell you what to do.
4 people play, and then 1 or 2 go down and get lessons while the rest are playing. And I said to him, John, I'm going to give you a little tip, buddy. I'm uncoachable, so give up.
That's the point I was making.
Don't be worried about me using my backhand. I'll keep shifting hands. I shift hands.
Oh, you're a paddle switcher.
Oh yeah. So I said, look, I'm uncoachable. I'm like a few of the Leafs. I'm uncoachable, and so he's accepted that.
Okay, so let's shift to the Vancouver Canucks and what kind of shift they need moving forward to get back into the playoffs. And where do you look first, Mac, when you look at the season that they had and where they're heading next season?
Well, look, it's been a really tough grind. You've got the Demko injury situation. You've got the Pettersson Miller situation that was just bizarre to me. You've got an organization that thought they were ready to take a big step, and all of a sudden it didn't happen. Hughes' injury late, it was a factor. They're not as good as they thought they were was another factor. They're not as good as I thought they were because I sort of picked them to be a Western contender this year. Now they're faced with the Tocchet situation. I heard you touch base on that just for a minute, but Tocchet, I said on this show, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 months ago, he'd be in Philly. He wouldn't be there. $5 million, seriously, guys, $5 million for guys that have not won a thing, hardly have gotten to the playoffs. Kyper, I know you like to push salaries, but man, oh man, seriously.
Mac, I'm just going with market prices, my friend.
I'm the only guy. When I was at Sportsnet, you're worried about everybody else. You're worried about Elliott. You never pushed my salary. You kept me at the bottom. You never went to Scott Moore and said, "Hey, Mac deserves a raise, or Pelly, Doug deserves a raise." I mean, it was all you and Elliott, the insiders.
I didn't see Elliott.
Damien Cox, who used to work for him too.
Elliott never pulled up and picked me up in a Porsche.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. But anyway, look, Vancouver, I'd like to see them get it straightened out. And I mean, I'm sorry. I said the Don Cherry line that last time I watched them. I haven't watched them since. They had one Canadian in their lineup. Like, wake up, boys. Come on. Like, the U.S. have great players. Europe has great players, but you need how many Florida Panthers or Vegas Golden Knights are Canadians? How many are from the Western League in Vegas? Come on, it means something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
there you go. That's like Pat Gillick drafting good old Prairie Farm boys for baseball just because they were hard workers.
Yeah.
Hey,
I guess so.
Don't
get too cocky. Don't get too arrogant, Vancouver.
Okay.
Maybe that's a touch of it.
We'll pass that lesson along. So, but I am curious about like the relationship with owners. Because you've mentioned several times about your relationship in Columbus, and I look at, the Ottawa gets Andlauer in the past couple of years here, and now they're starting to have some success. How does an owner have an effect on the product on the ice?
Depends if he's a good owner or a brutal owner, Good owners, I think, can have a real impact. Wayne Huizenga was a great owner in Florida, because I never heard from him other than when he would give me his Jack Nicklaus tips, But other than that, he was a really low key type of owner. My guy in Columbus was a low key type of owner. Andlauer, to me, has been around the game a long time, from major, junior, American League. He's got a background in hockey, Montreal. He wants to be an involved owner, and I think he's been a positive impact on the franchise. I really do. He's had his finger all over the pulse as to who he wanted to hire, and he and Staios and them have done a good job. And let's not forget, in fairness to Dorion, there was a pretty good base there. And Kippy and I studied this team in the summer. They had a really good base there, a really good group to build on, starting with Tkachuk and on down. So, people slam Pierre Dorion. Dorion drafted some really good young players there, and they've filled in around it nicely. Travis has done a good job. You know what the greatest thing for the Ottawa Senators are? Making the playoffs in the last 2 weeks or so without Tkachuk.
Yeah.
You know what that means to the group? Not that they don't, hey, I love Tkachuk, and they do too. But to make the playoffs without him, and to play really well without him, bodes well for the Sens going into the playoffs. Their group is confident because they played without him and won and got in the playoffs. And now he comes into the picture and gives them another lift. I like it. As long as Allmark keeps playing the way he is, Forsberg has been good. I like their chances. I like how they're playing.
So, Mac,
and going back to Andlauer, yeah, I'm going to say. I know him just to say hello to him. I've met him a couple of times. I think he's been a very positive factor in the organization.
As far as
not that Nick wouldn't have been.
Nick would have been something, boy.
I would have been something.
Yeah. They missed the boat.
Him
on
and
that.
Bill
They
Burr.
missed the boat. They missed the boat on that one.
Would have made the playoffs last year.
That's right.
Hey, so if we focus on
I'd be off this radio show.
I'd be headlining Doug.
If we stick to the Ottawa Senators and the Montreal Canadiens, who hold those spots right now in the Atlantic Division, who may be a bigger threat if the Leafs find themselves playing against one of these two teams?
Well, Montreal have got to get in first, and they've got to win another game. What is it? One more game in regulation they need to win.
Yeah, we're assuming they're in.
We're assuming they're in. I'm still got a little tinge of hope for the Blue Jackets, but now, of course, Merzlikins, like the flake Merzlikins, is out with a concussion for the rest of the year. Like, seriously, there's always something. Anyway, don't get me going on that one.
Okay.
Anyway, so I don't know if the young guy from Cleveland can get it done, although he played really well last night for them. But anyway, look, Montreal's tough. The kid on the back end, Hudson, I mean, how good has he been? What a Clark knew him from watching him in Chicago. He's got a whole family, their whole hockey playing family there. The kid's a big time talent, and he's really taken it to a whole nother level. Demidov is going to be interesting. We talked about him on the show a few months ago. How did Columbus not take Demidov over Lidstrom? Lidstrom is going to the University of Michigan next year, and this kid they're meeting him at the airport,
with a lot of fans.
Yeah,
with a lot of fans. Yeah. And I was told today when I asked a few hockey people, they said, Doug, this guy's a mini Ovechkin, dynamic skater and silky hands. This guy's not the power guy, but he is an amazing talent. So it's going to be fun to watch if they can slide him in and if he can contribute right away. I had one of the most talented Russians of all time play for me. A couple of them. I had Fedorov as a young player for 5 years in Detroit. And I had Jaredev, who may be the most talented player I've ever been around in my life. And one went to the Hall of Fame and the other one went to the Hall of Shame. It's just, let's hope that he's made of the same as Ovechkin and Fedorov were made of.
So do you like that, like John Tortorella would bench Michkov and like trying to teach him proper habits and whatever, or do these guys need a bit of a longer leash as they try to make the adjustment to North American hockey?
I'll never forget the time I went down to Dave King after, we had drafted Rusty Klesla in the first round, and he was a, 4th or 5th overall, and he was a real good-looking young defenseman out of Brampton. And he played 2 minutes in the game. And I went down and I said, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think we're going to win the Stanley Cup. I got a funny feeling we're not going to win the Cup. So why don't we maybe play Rusty Klesla? And then the next time I went down, he played 3 minutes. And I said, so I thought, well, there's not much sense saying any more to him. So I fired him. He
didn't get that vibe,
white, isn't it?
He didn't get the vibe.
Anyway, Dave was a great man. I told you that. He was a great man and a really excellent coach. He was a great guy. I still really like him. But he doesn't like me as much, but I still like him a lot.
Gotta ask you about the Toronto Maple Leafs and the two versions of the hockey club that we got. One against the Panthers and one against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And where are they headed now, Mac, towards game one?
Florida's a tough place to play, over a 3-day period, because there's a lot of things going on in Florida. And there's a lot of distractions.
Pickleball.
I face every day. Look, I hated their game against the Panthers. It was back to what I've watched too much over the past 5-7 years. But the game against Tampa, I only saw the last half of it. I thought they played exceptionally well. I think the Matthews line, watching them the other night, is currently the best line in the NHL. Currently the best line, not front of the head of the seat, and not from the first, but the best line in the NHL. I'm going to tell you something else. I watched Mitch Marner really close the last, little while. And I would say in the last 2 weeks, I've watched this kid make 7 to 10 unbelievable skill plays to be a major force in the games. So don't be too quick to say, we don't want Mitch Marner on this hockey team. Mm-hmm. I talked to somebody today about him and Patrick Kane, and I said, I love Patrick Kane. I really do. And I think this guy's got a chance to be a better player than Patrick Kane because of his all-round game, because of what he does on the PK, because he does defensively. He plays high, he back checks, and he makes unbelievable plays.
And he may play defense tomorrow night.
Literally.
I'm telling you, he has made some amazing skill plays. Knies has been good. He's been physical. The line has been really, really good. They are going to be tough. They're going to be tough. I mean, they're right there for me as a Stanley Cup contender. They're right there.
So I want to ask you about another team that I keep a close eye on in the New York Islanders, and just what
Oh my God,
they're going to do.
Do we have to talk New York, the Rangers, and the Islanders? Like seriously,
I just
talk
kind of
about piss away a season.
It's weird, right? Like this, the door was open for
awful.
one of them to be decent and nothing.
Like I turn on the Rangers and Flyers and okay, the Rangers are going to win tonight. They're going to get back in it, and they lose 8-5 at home.
Ugh.
In Sam Rosen's fond farewell by listening to him and JD just kiss. Oh, it was like a love fest, and I loved it. But I said a note to JD after. I said, JD, congratulations, you and Sam, but the game's passed you by, man. It's time to move on, JD.
You're brutal.
He was sour. He sent back through Rimmer that the fans in Columbus still hate me and they love him. So we had some fun. But the Islanders and Rangers I just can't figure it out. And like, how can there not be change? I mean, there's going to be changes. Both teams, there's going to be change.
I believe, like, I'm hearing Chicago as a team that could look
Why
at.
would you ever hear?
Look at
Why
who?
would you ever hear that?
Chicago, look at who?
Looking to make major changes. Right?
Interesting.
Seattle, lots of question marks about Ron Francis's future in Seattle. Buffalo.
I mean, there's a lot of
Peter Laviolette, his job with the Rangers. A lot of people wondering whether he'll be back next year. So what do we call it in football? Black Monday.
Yeah.
Right. Where
Doug, shine up that resume.
I sent George Glenn a note after the game the other night, the 8-5 loss. I said, your old team had a tough night. Oh, I couldn't wait for the reply on that one.
I'd love to hear what he had to say. If you want to read it to us, that'd be great.
It was like he was celebrating an anniversary or birthday. He was on a high. Anyway.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of changes, and that happens when there's a lot of money and every team's at the cap, every team's spending to the cap, and owners want results and expect results. And unfortunately, as somebody said last year, there's 14-year-olds in Buffalo who've never seen a playoff hockey game. It's 8 years in this town, and it just. They've got to figure it out. It's unfortunately there's parity in the league. It's really tough to make the playoffs, and owners want to be in there. What's
fair tenure for a coach to say that they couldn't get the job done, or they, like Tockett's been in Vancouver not very long, in Knobloch there, and Edmonton's been there not very long, but the average length of a coaching job these days is 2.5 years. Is that a fair amount of time?
I was just going to say that at 2.5 years, typically, unless you're with a good team, your job's on the line. At the 2.5 year mark, a lot of guys get fired at 2.5 years. A lot. I happen to be one of them. And it was I got fired. We were 4 points out of the playoffs in Florida, and Brian took over Murray. They won the next game. And I was home watching it and them winning. And they lost the next 17 in a row. The next 17 in a row they lost. And you know what? I wasn't happy with it because I love Brian Murray. But look, it's a joke what's going on in coaching.
Hold on.
It is a joke.
Hold on. If I'm an owner and I want to shake things up, we know how hard it is to get rid of contracts. 100%. You guys are not on the salary cap. I can change you anytime I want. Doesn't affect it.
It's not about shaking things up. I'll tell you what it's about.
What?
Owners get to hate coaches really fast, and they get to hate GMs. It's a lot longer before you really hate your GM, but you get to hate coaches really fast because everybody's in their ear about the coaches. Their hairdresser, their barber, their accountant, it's a joke. Some of the stuff that was said to me, like, are you kidding me? He's giving my opinion on the coach. So they get to hate coaches really quick. They really do. And you know what? Unfortunately, it happens to everybody. It happens to everybody.
Marty St. Louis is the fifth longest tenured coach in the NHL. He was hired in February of 2022. Fifth longest tenured coach.
Yeah, and he's having a great year. And next year at the halfway mark, if they're stumbling, like Nick says, they want to shake things up.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate, and I hope that's not the case. And I hate when I see it, but it's unbelievable. And then you got who's the hot guy. Well, we got the guy from Denver. He's the hottest thing to come since sliced bread. I see he lost the other night, so he is capable of losing. Western Michigan beat them, so maybe I don't know what happens there. Talkett's a big name out there now, but look, it's unbelievable. It's a tough profession, and I tell you what, I know what it's like because they pay the price. They do, and Nick's right. It's the cap. One team I'd like to talk about.
I know which
it's
one.
your show. I want to talk about the Winnipeg Jets.
I was just going to say we need Jets talk.
Well, I watched them last night. They didn't just win the game against Dallas. They dominated the game. And Dallas is a really, really good hockey team. The speed Winnipeg are playing with right now, their tilt game, or what do you call it, Borny?
Yeah, ice tilt, yeah.
Ice tilt game is unbelievable. And I'll tell you, and everybody talks Hellebuck, everybody talks Scheifele, everybody talks Lowry. I love those guys. But I'll tell you what, Chevy has been there 14 years as a general manager, Kevin Cheveldahl. And he may be one of the best GMs in the league. I know he hasn't had playoff success, but what he's done on that back end, that defense right now is playing as well as any defense in the league. And he's got he brings in Shen, he puts him with Stanley, and both of them are monsters on the back end and have really changed the look of the team, really have changed the look, the battle of the team. And then you've got the other guys, DeMello and Morrissey, and Sandberg's become a really good player, player. So, I mean, look, I think they're a really good-looking team right now. And can they win it? I've often thought they were a little soft or something about them I didn't like going in the playoffs. But right now, there's nothing not to like about this hockey team. Well, I don't know what, Scheifele, we knew he loved the game. We knew he wants to be a GM, but man, this guy's game has gone to another level the last year.
So good.
I know.
And then you avoid Colorado or Dallas in the first round.
That would be nice,
right?
Well, which is really a great opportunity. And I'll tell you, you also miss LA, by the way. Who have you seen them play at home lately? LA.
Are you still calling them over the Oilers?
Don't tell anybody in Edmonton that way, because I get a ton of hate mail when I say it. But I am, and I hope you know what? I'm picking LA over the Oilers if they play, which looks like they will. And I would like to see Edmonton win. But who did Connor McDavid play with the other night in his first game back? Jeff Skinner and who else? Arvidsson?
Maybe.
Like seriously, guys, what is going on? Give me a break.
I was in St. Lucia golfing. I don't know.
Were you at Cabot St. Lucia?
Yes, I was.
He says he played 130 holes.
You know that really that I get to play Cabot Links, not Cabot. I get to play Cabot Cape Breton.
It's really nice there
good too.
No, it's really good there.
By the way, I didn't tell you I played Indian Creek last week. I didn't tell you this.
No,
so I
you
go
did
to
not.
Indian Creek. I get invited to Indian Creek, which is that island off Miami, where there's 33 homes on the island. Jeff Bezos is there. Tom Brady just sold his house for $90 million there. Ivanka Trump and Kushner
and Doug McLean.
Everybody's there. Everybody's there. So my buddy says, we're going to play with Steve Tanger. I said, oh, who's Steve Tanger? He said, have you heard of Tanger Outlet Malls? You know, the Tanger Outlet Mall? I said, yeah. He said, well, he's the CEO of the Tanger Outlet Mall. He just retired a year ago. So just an unbelievable gentleman. And he's a worse golfer than I am, which I really like.
Nice.
So anyway, we finish the game. We have a beer and the thing, and then we're getting ready to leave. And I get in my blue SUV sedan, and Dorian's with me, my buddy. So I drove. He's the member there. So anyway, we're getting ready to leave, and this blue, identical color of my car, royal blue Rolls Royce, pulls up next to me. And Steve comes out and he says, we got to get together with the wives, as he jumps into the back seat of the Rolls Royce and drives away. And I thought, something wrong. I said, Dorian, can I take a picture of the guy? No, you can't take pictures here, Doug. Anyway, we had a great time. And I just wanted to tell you, because I know Cabot St. Lucia is nice, but Indian Creek is also.
All right. Well, listen,
I'm looking for Don Valley to open up as soon as the weather gets nicer.
Listen, if you ever get to St. Lucia, I can't get you on Cabot, but there's the Sandals next door. Maybe I can pull some strings there. Hey, great stuff as always, my friend.
Listen,
I mean, and we learned something today.
Tell Disco Dan or Sammy that if you don't need me on Fridays because you're away, maybe let me know. I was sitting here last Friday waiting for the call, and it never came. It was devastating.
Really?
Sammy was already in vacation mode, Doug.
Yeah, we didn't have a show.
We had no show. We had no show.
And I got a ton of mail. Oh, you didn't have a show. I was going to say I got a ton of mail saying they're disappointed I wasn't on, but you didn't have a show. Okay.
Well, listen, we've known each other.
Thanks a lot. Oh, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. We've known each other for a very long time, and I learned something new about you today, that you got fired in Columbus by your hairdresser.
Not whoever did your hair today. Your hair looks great today.
I'm going to fire my hairdresser. I'll clean it up a little.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the one and the only Doug MacLean.
Have me on, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Mac.
Is he gone?
We got to do game time. We got to break. We got to get the Staios. We blew through 10 stop signs.
Go Disco.
It's game time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Play responsibly. I'm going to focus on one game tonight, gentlemen. Okay. Montreal, Ottawa, in Ottawa. Big time game tonight. The Sens obviously clinched a playoff spot earlier this week. The Habs looking to clinch a playoff spot. Yeah, give me Montreal. Give me Montreal on the money line. I'm going Habs. 6 in a row, make it 7 tonight. And then they come to Toronto tomorrow on the back half of a back-to-back. Get the job done tonight. Plus 145. Montreal Canadiens over the Ottawa Senators.
All right, Sens are minus 170 there. That's tough. Okay.
All right, that was game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. Find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Play responsibly.
All right. Speed it up here and go to break because we got Steve Staios, Ottawa Senators, president of hockey operations and general manager, and playoff bound next when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Welcome back to the program. As a reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick, Justin, and Disco Dan to close out this Off the Rails Friday. We're going to welcome in soon Steve Staios, Ottawa Senators president, hockey operations, and general managers. Of course, in a key game tonight, Ottawa and the Montreal Canadiens, where they're led, at least the Canadiens are, by Nick Suzuki, who's closing in on 90 points this season.
What a leap for him.
You had him as a third-line centerman. I had him as a
I said American leaguer.
Top centerman on a Stanley Cup contending team. All right, let's welcome in Steve Staios, who knows his share of good hockey players lately and ones that enabled his hockey club to participate in this year's Stanley Cup playoffs. Stevie, thanks for joining us, and congratulations on solidifying that spot.
I appreciate it, Kyper. Great to be on with you.
Yeah, so tonight you got the Montreal Canadiens, the team still looking to solidify their spot. How do you approach this game and the remainder of the regular season before it starts counting in game one?
We want to take the same approach we have all year and get our team ready to play and play at a high level. We've played some good hockey this year, and as you guys know, the season ebbs and flows, and you get to your game, you're feeling really good, and it drops off. And we feel pretty good about our game, but we do feel like there's another level. So we want to continue to push. And but this group has been, they've been motivated right from the beginning, and so I expect us to have. Really work towards getting to our game, because we know in the playoffs it's going to be a different animal. And
this particular matchup has not been kind to you all season long. I think the Canadiens have you at 3-0 and 0 and outscored you 15-6. Is there any particular reason why that you can think of that maybe you can kind of correct tonight?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's really interesting to see sort of like we deem sort of the contenders of the top teams, and we've played them very well and been competitive and won games against them. And then, teams are sort of in the mix where we are as a younger group and continuing to develop. And we've had our struggles with a couple of them in particular. So hopefully it's something we can rectify tonight. I don't know if there's any one thing in particular that it is. So, it's always a great matchup. I mean, the energy in the building is great. In whether we're in Montreal or in Ottawa. So we're really looking forward to the matchup tonight.
So that's tonight. I want to talk about how you got to tonight. Going back to when Michael Andlauer took over the team, what has the journey and process been like for you taking on this role and leading this team to where it is now?
Yeah, well, I think the approach was we had a lot of things happen to us just and early that were unforeseen, and you need to stay the course. I mean, my plan coming in as president was to take a long, hard look at each area of the organization and really do an honest assessment of where we were at and some of the processes we were using at that point. And things got expedited. Michael had made a change at the general manager position, and I stepped into that role, and so then it was a little bit more on the day to day. But in the meantime, I think we could work at each area of the organization, raising the standard. And we've talked a lot about culture in and around our group and some of the things that we want to do. And culture, as you guys know, is it's a day to day thing. And it was a long process, and things have turned around here. We've taken a good step forward. We're proud of that, and we've done it, and we feel like in most areas of the organization. But we continue to strive to be better. But I think we can all be proud of taking that first step.
You're listening to Steve Staios, Ottawa Senators President of Hockey Operations and General Manager. We know that Brady Tkachuk is out of the lineup, 4 games to go. My first question is, if game 1 was this weekend, would he be in the lineup? And number 2, can we expect a few more bodies to be rested up between now and then?
Well, I think everybody knows Brady's character and what he's all about. So I guess I don't have a definitive answer, but I do think if tonight was game 1, I would see him just with who he is as a competitor, making himself available and coming into play. It's always a fine line. The second part of your question is it time to rest some players? I talked a little bit earlier about trying to get to the top of our game. I think it's a sort of a delicate kind of process. We got to look at each individual and how they're feeling. But certainly, I think there may be some players that could benefit from rest. But at the same time, I think playing these games and staying competitive and getting to a higher level are important as well.
Absolutely. So, in terms of important people, Linus Ullmark seems to have been a bit of a revelation in the second half here in particular. I mean, the difference in having that belief in your guys' goaltender, is it as simple as chalking up Ullmark as the major difference on the ice in your guys' success this year?
I think it's a major factor without a doubt. One of the things that it was when you have an honest assessment, I think our goaltending wasn't good enough last year, but there's the element of the play in front. And I think Travis Green and the coaching staff deserve a ton of credit for, the way that we play, the commitment on the other side of the puck. And, we're taking pride in defending. And that goes hand in hand for our goaltenders as well. Because when, the structured defensive system that we play, when we do break down, I think it's a little more predictable for our goaltenders to be able to read, so it's not as erratic in front of them. So I think it goes hand in hand, but certainly Linus was a target of mine dating back to the deadline. You start looking at how often you get an opportunity to be able to acquire a goaltender of that caliber, and so I stayed on it through the off season and ended up getting him in, and that was one of a few things that we really pinpointed that we felt that the team would need, but certainly that was number 1 on our list.
Ullmark, we've seen portions of the season when it's been all world for him, but he has not been able to play probably the number of games that you would have expected for a guy, that's making that type of salary. and that's no fault to his own. But Forsberg's almost knocking on 30 games played as well here. But in a perfect world, are we at that place where maybe we're not talking about many more games from Allmark, even if he was healthy? What's a nice number for you for a starting goalie now?
I think that's a good question. I think, and Linus is, he's a world-class goaltender and is preparing himself for that workload. And this was, we want him to get to that workload where he's comfortable, where we can put him in for, as many games as he can play. It's so different than it was in the past. And you certainly need some support as a backup goaltender to be able to come and play those games. But no, we're pleased with Linus. He went through the one injury that he dealt with well and came out of it. But, the spotlight's on the goaltenders too. I mean, there's players that go through stretches where, they're playing either a little nicked up or they're not playing to the top of their game. And it just gets magnified when you're in the goaltender position. But certainly I think there's other qualities that Linus brings to us as well. And some of that experience through his time and with the Boston Bruins, I think there's a leadership component there. Certainly, I think our players feel confident, when he's around and certainly when he's in the net.
Steve, there's, I'm sure, plenty of times where as a general manager, you want to do something, but you kind of got to wait for those right opportunities, like being a batter in baseball, wait for your pitch. You guys at the deadline took a significant cut right down the middle of the Cousins swap for Norris. How have the returns been on that move so far?
We feel good about it. I think, we traded a good player away for another good young player. And we certainly, Dylan Cousins, we feel is a good player for us now. And we really do like the upside of the player. And he brings us a bit of a different element down the middle of the ice with the size and the strength and the offensive ability. So he fits in well. For what we were able to do at the deadline and freeing up enough space to go and acquire Fabian Zetterlund, we felt like it added another NHL player on our roster, some goal scoring, some 5-on-5 scoring play as well from a guy like Zetterlund. And also, like I said, with Cousins, that there's upside there. So I think that both these players are just sort of scratching the surface. They're everyday NHL players, and they're good ones right now, but we feel like they can continue to build on their game.
Steven, we know there's 4 more games left in the regular season, but if the dominoes fall the way we think they might follow, then, yeah, maybe a Battle of Ontario. You being from this area could probably appreciate that. Any thoughts on it this early?
Well, yeah, I mean, how exciting would that be? I mean, for both fan bases, that would be incredible. I think that this was us taking the first step in qualifying for the Stanley Cup playoffs. At the end of the day, we're going in as underdogs in round one, no matter who we play. And the teams that we could potentially play have had some playoff experience and, a bit of an older group with more experience. So we understand where we're at. But it's hard not to believe in this group. Like we faced some adversity this year. We've had some times where our play wasn't up to standard, and then the questions start getting piled on them, and they come out of it, and they've done that. And so, to me, that's a sign of a good, strong team. And sure, we're lacking some experience, but we're certainly excited about the opportunity of whomever we get to play in the first round.
Well, listen, don't look any further than tonight. We wish you the best of luck, and we look forward to watching you participate for the first time in 7 years. Congratulations.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Steve Staios, key architect to the Ottawa Senators season.
Good stuff.
All right. So it's come to my attention.
Yeah.
Like during the show.
I know.
And we got this jersey thing going now.
Yeah.
Lots of positive vibes.
People are contributing. It's
Disco
been cool.
brings us Brampton in.
Yeah, David Sis, video coach there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And now you guys drop a bomb on me.
Yeah, so Don Waddell came on our show.
Yes.
And we talked about the jerseys behind us. He's wearing the Cannon thing. We're like, Don, we'd love to get a sweater.
Yes.
And Don's a great guy. He went and he bought one with his own money, and then he folded it and he put it in a box.
His own money.
Yep. And then he put it in a box and he mailed it himself.
Oh my God, stop it right now.
All right. I don't know if that's what happened with Don. But anyway, Sam McKee lost a jersey. Let's listen. He told Bunk on Leafs Talk after the last game. I haven't even seen this yet.
So anyways, Don Waddell gets in touch with me.
And
he's like, hey, we're coming to Toronto. Like, could you come by morning skate and I'll give you this jersey. And this morning I woke up. I'm like, yeah, I was texting with the PR guy. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I went down to Scotiabank Arena this morning and I met Glenn, the Jackets PR guy. Fantastic guy. We had the most transitional, transactional conversation. Oh, you guys are in tough tonight, blah, blah, blah. Like just classic two hockey guy conversation. Shook her hands me this beautiful bag with the new version of like the Jackets jersey. And it is inscribed with Don Waddell's name on it. And there's a note in it. There's a note in it, which is incredible. Okay. I'm on my way home. I went and got my hair a little cut before I go to Hawaii. I got the sides a little high and tight, left the back, as you know. I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow. Anyways, I get on the Dufferin bus and I'm going up to Bloor. I get off the bus and like I'm about to go down the stairs and I went, oh my God, the jersey. And I turned around and like the doors were closing and I looked I made eye contact with the driver. I went bang, 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 bang. They rip out, gone. Like she ripped. Buddy, I've never ran harder. I'm sprinting like full Usain Bolt. When's the last time you sprinted? It's so hard.
It's very tough. Yes.
I was hauling ass. I've never ran harder in my life. Then there's this light up ahead.
Okay.
And it's like, if this light goes green,
you're done. You're cooked.
There's just no shot. And it's red. I'm like, stay red. I'm hauling. I'm about 15 feet, 16 feet from the back of the turns green. Bang, gone. The Don Waddell personalized Blue Jackets jersey in a Blue Jackets bag is somewhere on the Dufferin bus line. So there's going to be somebody in Toronto. If you're listening to this and you saw that bag or you work for TTC, Kyper is going to kill me for this. I am never going to, like, I don't have any excuse. I wasn't like I was in a drunken stupor. Like I had two things with me. I had an umbrella and this bag and I just left the bag and dude, I almost cried. I was like, I can't believe I just did that. And I had to text Don Waddell and explain to I'm devastated.
Oh,
so there you go, buddy.
This is, you know what? Actually, this is perfect. The embarrassment is your punishment. Like,
for 4 years, this man has carried on certain portions of our show on conversations about a jersey. And I tell him, I don't care about jerseys. I don't care about colors. I care nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Don Waddell comes on and I go, I like that jersey. Mm-hmm. And he's kind enough to say, I'll get you one.
The one time you've cared.
The one time I care, Sammy loses it. Okay? And I am going to kill you. All right? I am. And I plead with anybody out there who has this jersey, return it to us, and we won't file charges. Okay?
Well, I mean, who would want that but us? You know what I mean? Like, who's like a Columbus Blue Jackets
get you something
Don
in
Waddell
return.
Jersey?
Okay? We'll get you something in return.
People are greedy, Borny. Yeah. They see it, they're like, that's interesting.
Hey, it's the Cannon, too. It's the Cannon jersey.
We'll get
it's
him
a sick
some
jersey.
real Kyper and Bourne swag.
I can't get the Masters on today, and then 5 minutes left in the show. You guys tell me Sammy lost our Blue Jackets jersey.
I got good news. It's the weekend. It's the Masters weekend.
Wow.
You got a TV at home, don't you?
Wow. All right. So listen, I want to give a shout out to Nicholas Blackmore. He is a creator, content creator here. Every weekend he does the best of Real Kyper and Bourne. And it's fantastic.
He's
People
awesome.
tell me they love it.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to play it. He's going to put the portion in where I want to kill Sammy.
Perfect.
And big shout out to him.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Pretty fast week. Hey, Disco, great job
Thank
sitting
you,
in.
fellas.
Buddy.
Great week, pals.
Great week. Everybody have a great weekend. We're back on Monday. Real Kyper and Bourne.